parts of playing Magnus in a match is that even when you have a game where you were better, if you don't convert, it eats at you, right? Where you go like, well, this is kind of hopeless. But like you said, focus on
Hmm.
the positive and lean into it, right? Like there's a few YouTube videos online where I played Magnus in some random blitz, and all I ever remember from that is that I drew one game. I don't tell
Hmm.
people that there are 6 other videos after that where I lost every game, right? You just
What
focus.
videos?
Exactly. What videos are there? Just the first one.
Right.
So anyway, here we have an Italian, the first move on that note, switching to E4 from D4, and a symmetrical Italian until Magnus chooses the H6 variation. Ooh, and castles early. We could get a sharp one with white
Could get
committing castles. That
G5.
means, yeah, exactly.
Now, the one of the ideas of putting the knight on c3 is to meet g5 with an early knight d5, kind of striking at the center. White could go knight d5 here anyway. White could play this in traditional style with bishop b3, which Gukesh does. And, just a relatively unambitious opening setup by the Indian Grandmaster. Just sort of a regular Italian position. So
Yep.
popular these days.
Let's talk a little bit about that G5. It didn't happen, but that's kind of a modern way that black can look to spice things up if you are in a must-win situation, right? White castling early and black playing H6, not just to prevent bishop G5, but to play G5. That's not happening here, but that is an idea we might see later on in this match if they keep playing this position.
Yeah, we might even see the move g5 with the king castled kingside. The fact that the king is on g8 doesn't always preclude black from pushing g5, especially if you could ensure that a knight appears on g6 and a queen appears on f6 shortly thereafter. Knight d5 by Gukesh. So normally black's reaction here is to take on d5 and then to meet bishop takes d5, Danny, with this knight e7, knight g6 maneuver. But Magnus taking a little bit of time. Maybe he's thinking about bishop e6 to keep the tension.
Okay, and this is definitely theory for those looking to improve their repertoire or map anything out. This is a symmetrical Italian kind of four knights idea, but there's a lot more than meets the eye. That's why Magnus is pausing. Want to make sure he gets the right shuffling in here to be fair. And I think that Gukesh, we asked the question, Danya, what will he have prepared for this match? What do you bring to the battlefield when you're prepping for a world champion? It might be an Italian. I like his position right now so far after the first 10 or so moves.
Yeah, and Gukesh has been so impressive in the opening phase in his last couple classical tournaments. Of course, none of us will ever forget his performance in the previous Olympiad. Fabiano Caruana-esque, kind of a
Yep.
repetition of that Singfield Cup. I think he started 8 out of 8 and only lost the next game by miracle. That was
Yep.
amazing, and that really put Gukesh on many players' radars. I'm a little bit surprised that Magnus took on e3, which is oftentimes a concession when the rook is on f1 aiming at the f7 pawn. But
Yep.
Carlsen decides, I think, that there are just not enough minor pieces here for white to really whip anything up on the king side. Okay, reasonable.
Yeah, makes sense. Normally in these positions with the f-file open, white can slide with queen e1 and over to that side of the board. But like you said, with pieces being traded, both the knight and bishop, unlikely white is really mustering up something scary on the king side. Is that what you're saying? Asking for a friend.
That is. But I would play queen
Okay.
e1 anyway. I like this idea. Queen e1, queen g3, and then maybe knight h4, knight f5, which you often see in these lines. Queen
Okay.
d2 by Gukesh, kind of taking the more slow roll approach, asking Magnus, what he wants to do with this bishop on d5. We could see bishop takes d5 at any moment, but I think white's going to take back with the c pawn and maybe even start playing on the queen side with an attack against that c7 pawn, which is going to be a backward pawn in the event of the trade.
I was going to say on that note, what is black's strategy? Are you thinking about taking d5, or are you trying to get white to blink first? Some maneuver where you move the knight from c6 in order to play c6 yourself and force white to capture on e6. What is black's plan? Obviously, moving the knight might lose the b7 pawn. So again, asking for a friend, teach me what you know about this position.
Normally, I'd say the idea is to get white to flinch first. Here, I would seriously contemplate taking on d5, and that's because of the presence of the b4 square. Magnus goes knight b4 immediately. I thought about this, but I didn't see exactly what the idea is in response to bishop takes b7 and then back to d5. Because if we pull up an analysis board, Danny, really quickly,
Yep.
I think Gukesh
Yep.
should take on b7. The idea is that you can't, well, maybe you can try bishop d7 with the idea of
There's
c6.
no.
I was worried about it.
I
But
was just going
there's
to say,
no
there's no
follow-up.
sacrifice on f7. What do you mean there's no sacrifice, computer? I hate you. It's good for black.
Me too. You just drop it back and you stare your opponent in the face and you say you have no follow-up here. You have
This
three
is what
pawns.
Magnus. My gosh. If
God.
this is what Magnus has already looked at, we see in the live position right below our cameras here that Gukesh hasn't taken yet, but here he does take on b7. He goes for it.
Ooh.
No, but Magnus doesn't go for bishop d7. He
No,
decides
but
it is just a pure pawn sacrifice.
no, and that's not a good thing for Magnus. He doesn't have enough compensation. I mean, yeah, the knight is sitting pretty on b4,
Yeah.
but kind of a strange sequence of decisions for the world champion. He takes a lot of time, and this is a big chance for Gukesh in the early going, Danny. I don't want to overstate the
Yeah.
case here, but you've got to try to deliver if you're white.
No, I don't think we're going to be overstating the case at all throughout the whole day if we're saying this is a big moment for Gukesh because he might not get many. You've got to take them, right? You don't swing at the king and miss, as they say. And so I agree. I mean, you can't miss with an opportunity where you've won a pawn. Magnus obviously has some compensation on the b file. Maybe we should highlight that as well as the b2 pawn being backward. And here he comes with the swing to double the rooks. Makes sense. But if you're Gukesh, I think I'm going to give one piece of random advice into the universe. He won't be able to hear me, but I think the main thing is you can't overthink this, Daniel. What we often see here is now he's going to try to be perfect and convert and get himself under time pressure, and somehow Magnus wins his black. We see people do that against Hikaru and Magnus. I think you got to trust yourself and try to play quickly, not trying to be too precise because it is blitz.
Agree completely. He's been doing that so far. I love the way Gukesh is handling this so far. Rook AC1. Mysterious looking move, but the idea is an antidote to d5. In the event of d5, you take it, and then your rook sits on a lovely open file. Now Gukesh says, hey, I don't care about the pressure on the b file. I'm going to checkmate you on the king side. Maybe even a move like rook f3 and pile up those pieces while black's pieces are scattered about the queen side.
I agree totally. And I think that might be, to me, if I was giving the practical advice, bird on the shoulder, that's what you go for, Danya, because you have to take your chances when you get them. And you can't be afraid to go all in, right? Because you may not get another opportunity. Here he goes. I love this. Queen f2, queen g3. Let's go on the king side.
Whoa, that is a sacrifice. Magnus doesn't take on d3. I thought rook f3 might have been a more precise way to start. Magnus follows up with g6, and is Gukesh just going to leave the knight on f5? That is a common sacrifice in these Italian positions. For now, he goes queen g3, pinning the g-pawn. And is Magnus going to duck away onto h7?
But what about knight takes d3? We're going to have to bring back the analysis board, but just to show the obvious lines, because this game is about to get tricky. So if black plays knight takes d3, white has what?
I think just rook cd1.
Okay, and d6 is hanging in the end.
And you could play rook b3 here, but then you lose sight
knight
of the
h6.
f7 pawn. This gets really nasty for black.
Yeah.
So Magnus does indeed play king h7.
Yeah, stopping knight h6 and maybe renewing eventual threats.
Spicy stuff by Gukesh. He just says, hey, Magnus, take my knight. You're going to get ladder checkmated.
I love that move. If you take gf5, rook f5, here comes checkmate on the edge of the board. This is the kind of game, if you're writing up the storybook upset, Rudy takes down Notre Dame. Or what happened in that movie? Did he go to Notre Dame or did he beat Notre Dame? Any Hooters. Okay, so if you're writing the Rudy story, it starts with this type of chess by Gukesh. I know he went to Notre Dame. Calm down. Calm down, everybody.
No, that's a fantastic move. And Danny, it's not just a defensive move. He's preparing to blast open the center with the move d4. And that pawn on d6, that queen on d8. Magnus is falling apart at the seams here. And he's got 45 seconds. Let's see how Gukesh follows this up.
I'm going to say that's the other thing that you get excited about is on the clock. I love this move d4. I love that you have to put pressure. Magnus is maybe going to be under 30 seconds here in just a moment.
Yeah, but this is where the world champion. But this is where the world champion is so resilient. He just does not die. It doesn't matter how much time he has on his clock. He's going to make Gukesh work for it. And I love how Gukesh is just keeping his knight on f5. It can never be captured as long as the queen sits on g3, cutting off the king.
I love it. I love it. We asked the question when we were reviewing the insights there, what does Gukesh do to get Magnus in tactical positions? That's a type of position Gukesh might want. This is the kind of game you're looking for. This is exactly what you need. Magnus now under 20 seconds. Where's the beef, Gukesh? You got to deliver.
Yeah, where's that crushing blow? Magnus is still pretty solid on the king side. Gukesh continues to pile up his pieces, doubling on the f-file. 10 seconds now for the world champion. And Danny, I mean, d takes e5 and queen. No, there's got to be a knockout here. I think just knight h6.
Got to be a knockout.
No,
knight h6. Is knight takes d6 an option?
Queen takes d6. Not totally sure.
And then there's rook takes f7. There's also just move the knight anywhere, like even h4, because if the queen goes to e6, then you can play d5 and keep the pressure.
Although then the
Is
queen
there
has
is there
this
a move
E8
like
square.
C5?
I
Danya, is
think
there a move like
C5 is
C5?
best. I think you're calling it. I think C5 is totally crushing Danny because then you play D takes C5 and put the knight on D6. I think C5 ends and he finds
He
it.
goes for it. Gukesh finds it. 7 seconds for the champ. Oh, and he's all in now. He's like, well,
That's
might as well take
Rook
now.
H5, Rook G5, 1-0.
It's over. It's over.
Oh, my lands. What a game.
Gukesh says, not so fast. Go and brush your shoulder off, youngster. It's a match, baby. Not so fast, everyone.
Yeah, and Magnus, I mean, his body language kind of indicates frustration.
Or Andrea, or any A name. I just made it up.
Well, that's like Daenerys' dragons. They're going to grow pretty quickly, and Gukesh just resigns.
Yep.
And now we're entering adoption territory.
Yep.
That wasn't fair. Gukesh never got off the ground on the king side. Like, he got his knight to g3. He did everything you're supposed to do, Danny. He made all the right moves, pressed all the right buttons, and then his attack just evaporated.
Yep. Yep. Well, it is harder to launch those King's Indian attack positions, those style positions against a fianchetto structure, and Magnus knew that, right? That H7, G6. I mean, I don't want to get too abstracted. It's not on the board anymore, but just your comments made me think in my head, going full chess player. Never go full chess player on a chess show. Robert Downey Jr. taught me that. Never go full chess player. But in my full chess player mode, the problem is, Danya, those types of attacks for white are much stronger in a traditional King's Indian attack where, let's say, black's bishop is on E7, right? The fianchetto structure is hard to attack with that type of formation, and we saw that Gukesh never really got anything there.
No, you're absolutely right. And Magnus just kind of going away from theory with this move A3, stopping the bishop from developing to B4, and now he fianchettos, which is very popular now in all E6 Sicilians to fianchetto the light scored bishop and just get a Sicilian that's more on the positional side.
Yep. Alexander Ivanov preferred these positions as a kid growing up.
Yeah.
In the
you know what I'm
talking about. Couple of kids growing up in the American chess circuit, right? Goichberg tournaments weren't healthy for anybody, let's be honest. But Alexander Ivanov, a grandmaster who played a lot of these structures. You can also play them with A4 for white. This is, as Don just said, it's positional. You still strive at times for the traditional. Here he goes. He goes back to A4. You can go for F4 at some point. The Scheveningen structure with the fianchetto setup for white is often very solid.
And Magnus just understands every type of position. It literally doesn't matter what you throw at him. He will know the typical plans and the typical ideas in literally every opening and every sub-variation. Something that we also take for granted, by the way, but something which is exceedingly rare, even at the highest level, to know as many patterns and as many ideas as Magnus knows. It's like a restaurant where the menu encompasses every single cuisine, and the chef, is the best chef in the world at, whatever cuisine you want. It's crazy.
There you go.
I don't know where that came from. That was
out of left field. Restaurant. I'm hungry with a lot of options. I'm thinking Cheesecake Factory. I don't know what you're doing afterward.
I love Cheesecake Factory.
So.
Except there's only one of them here, and the line extends to South Carolina. So,
all right, but we see this little maneuver. The knight goes from B5 to D4, followed by a double fianchetto setup. It's a very easy position for white to play. And, again, to give our boy Robert Hess a shout out, we often look at the pawn breaks. It's hard for black to play D5 here, which is often a strike you want in a Sicilian because that bishop on G2 is primed and holding it. You can't play for A6 and B5, even though you'd like to. That's also a typical Sicilian break. But white's ahead of the game with A4, holding it back. Maybe even C4 is going to come here for Magnus. So
it is.
Again, you're highlighting it, and I'm just pointing out that this is a tough position because black's got pieces that look okay, but where's the breakthrough? Where do we give them some liberty?
No, this is just a buzzsaw kind of position. Rook from A1 coming to D1. Magnus opting for the bishop pair, which makes, the bishop on G2 is not the greatest piece in the world, but it's a solid bishop. It's protecting E4. E5 could come at an inopportune moment. Not yet, because black will push D5, and that transformation is in black's favor. But Magnus holds all the pawn breaks. I think he's going to drop his bishop back to B2 and maybe launch a kingside attack. There he goes.
H4 is a way to do that too. H4 is the Alpha Zero special. You advance that pawn, poke and prod a little bit. It'll come back to bite your opponent. I love your bishop
PNP.
B2. Go ahead.
PNP, poke and prod. No,
poke and prod.
I'm just saying what you said.
All day. Every day we shuffle. Okay, now we have a hedgehog without the fianchetto bishop for black.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that I like A5. I like B5 quickly from Gukesh, even if it's not correct. I like the speed. By the way, he's up on the clock for the first time in, well, it's been a minute according to my watch since Gukesh was ahead on the clock. Oh,
What did you
and
just say? Who's
as
ahead
I
on the
say
clock?
that, as I say that,
I actually think this idea of going A5 by Magnus is very instructive. I think he's going to go C4 and try to play against this A6 pawn, which he's fixed as a long-term weakness. But in order to get access to it, he has to eliminate the B5 pawn, which is, of course, its pawn cover.
yeah.
So I think C4 is on the menu here. Just to continue my restaurant analogy, C3.
Ooh,
Wait, he
what?
blunders the pawn on B3.
That's a pawn. That's a
That
pawn.
is a pawn. Give me that.
Take it, Gukesh.
That might have been a mouse. That might have been a mouse slip, actually.
Like he meant to play C4.
I mean, and Gukesh took a while there. Just
Look at that.
Is that too good to be true?
That'll wake you up. You see that?
Oh, whoa.
No, he literally just went like, WTF? Why the face? As in case kids didn't know, that's what it means. Why the face?
Why the face?
Why the face? WTF?
Yeah, I used to think it means like FTW is for the win. I used to think it means win the 4. It's just like a typo.
You are about as adorable as.
I also thought Mississippi was a person, but C4.
What is
Magnus
going on? He's imploding.
shedding...
Magnus is falling apart here.
Yeah,
and
what is he doing?
He's like shakes his head. He's laughing it off now because he took a position with
Bishop
all
D4.
The moves into a lost endgame.
0-1, and he's going to lose a piece too. He blundered a piece on top of everything else.
Yeah, bishop. Let's just show, or we'll just in your head or show rook d4, bishop d4.
Well,
the bishop on d6
on the board.
is hanging.
And if you go bishop e7, then Gukesh should go rook to d7 here.
And if rook d3, bishop f2. It happened.
Goodbye.
It's over.
Wow. No adoption. Great game by Gukesh.
Gosh! Oh no! Oh no!
He cannot catch a break. He did everything to win that game. What was king d6?
He was completely winning.
Just queen f8, queen d6, Danny, and then e6. Like literally anything was winning there. Oh my god.
And Magnus takes a drink of the water. I slide down in my chair.
That is absurd. Absurd.
Absurd.
Absurdistan. Mufasa.
Oh, Mufasa. Say it again.
Dude, after that game,
Mufasa.
I have 3 mice on my table. I think they would have been in 800 pieces after that. Oh my gosh. It's 16-2.
Mufasa.
That is ridiculous.
Magnus. Yeah, this is going to be the last match of the 3+1 segment. After this, of course, we will have Bullet. Shout out to Captain Edie with the 3-month subscription. I just saw chat for the first time. Shout out to all of our subscribers who might be subscribing throughout the day that we didn't call out. I just looked at the chat. Bro, Magnus destroyed. Yes, chat, there is destruction going on. I really want to see someone take that moment from Lion King with the hyenas and dub it over to be Magnus instead of Mufasa. Say it again. If someone throws that at me, you get a 1-year diamond membership on Twitter.
Okay.
Throw me a little Photoshop, little GIF action. Mufasa is Magnus, and you get a diamond.
Holy smokes. Queen c6 mate. That's going to be in Gukesh's nightmares tonight. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Queen h1 a c6 mate. But good play here for Gukesh. He's not tilting.
Yeah, good position.
He actually is still giving it his all. And, you know, it would do a lot for his confidence to end the 3-minute segment with a win. Obviously, the result of the match not really in question. But hey, there is enough time, I think, to play 13 bullet games. So, you never know.
You never know. Bishop to g7 from Gukesh. You're right. This is a good position for black. The e5 pawn is a target. White also fine, but Gukesh is he hasn't tilted. I think I saw chat say earlier, we were mentioning he's keeping his composure, always looking good, looking dapper, but this is a tough spot to be in.
It most certainly is. It's unenviable. You're just looking at the match score, you know, and again, you know, you don't get an easier opponent in the bullet. You just get the same opponent again and again.
Opponent. We should do a
Magnus
little bit of
Carlsen
like
guy.
the masked singer. How about next time we do a side event for SCC? It's the
Whoa.
SCC, except when it gets to bullet, you don't know who your teammate is. You get up and someone else sits down. Could be anybody, right? Could be me. I
I
have to
see
play
what
the
you're
bullet.
saying. By the
Then
way, Magnus is kind of having a meltdown here in this final game.
yeah, this is gonna get Gukesh the dub he needs to head into the bullet to keep
Yeah,
us
this is a
all on the edge of
disaster.
our seats.
Magnus is dropping the pawn on e5, and once that pawn drops, the floodgates open.
Yeah.
Gukesh better take that pawn, or else we're going to have a problem.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Gukesh. Thank you,
Okay.
Gukesh.
If
ASMR.
Magnus recovers from this game, I'm running out of adjectives to describe how I'm going to be.
You hungry? You hungry for victory? You hungry?
I am hungry. Some
Nom nom nom
Lebanese
nom
food
nom.
would really hit the spot right now.
Yeah, Magnus is the one eating this whole time. Someone should tell him, like, hey, save some room for later, Augustus.
He was doing well. MVL is like the originator of the meme, right? Just like the whole snacking while
Yeah, yeah.
playing thing.
No,
He's just incessant.
and I remember when he won that match the first time we were commentating on it. It was back in 2017, and like we had him show his spread. He literally had made himself like a charcuterie board. It was like cheese and like
Wow.
meats and like nuts. I was like, what is going on here? This is amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, you want to make sure though that whatever you eat during a match isn't like greasy, because there's
Yeah.
nothing worse than having to wash your hands after every bite that you take, because then your
Right.
laptop.
Plus, increases the
You know.
chances of a mouse slip, right? I mean, the sporting aspect of chess
Yep.
cannot be underestimated in these online formats. It is true. Like, there's a sporting, it's not exactly the traditional sport, esports, I guess, but there's a sporting aspect to how these guys handle their time pressure, and you don't want your fingers greasy. Back.
Nope. You don't want pieces of chicken fingers stuck on your keyboard in critical moments.
Absolutely.
Okay.
All right, Bishop B1 here. Kangaroos walkabout.
I have a bad feeling about this game on Gukesh's behalf. I
Don't
don't know
say it.
why.
Don't
I don't
say
know
it.
why.
You shut your mouth when you're talking to me. You
but
shut your
I
mouth.
ain't the prophet for nothing. They call me that for a reason.
That's hey, shushing your mouth.
You
right
shut
now.
your mouth.
Don't you
boy.
dare call a Magnus. Come back here.
Rook c3, maybe try to get some counterplay down the c file. But Gukesh could actually park his king on b6 even, and support the knight with rook c8 and close the doors on the
more
queen side.
the time ticks, the more I get nervous about what you said.
Uh-oh. And this is just what Magnus does. He just never, ever, ever dies. Doesn't matter how many pawns you win. You'll find a way to mix things up.
Mufasa.
King b7,
Rook
maybe?
C1, King B7, get out.
Nice play by Gukesh.
That was good.
C2.
All right. Play G3 if you're Magnus, just hold on to the pawn and make Gukesh blunder.
Wonder and maybe blunder.
Yeah, just like put the pressure back on the kid. He's got 30 seconds. That's what I would do if I was Magnus. I'd play G3 and just sit tight. Although, is 94 coming and just simplifying?
I'm just trying to find a word that rhymes with blunder and wonder. Well, black is going to tear white asunder. What was that? With the move d4.
Down under.
Then queen d2 is his idea, but then knight e4. I think knight e4 ends it.
Queen d2, knight e4 is a
It's
fork
over.
of the queen and rook. That is a forking problem last time I checked.
I'm slipping. My prophetic Gukesh just spat in the face of my so-called prophetic powers.
Hey, it's okay. We're not going to hold it against you.
I have to make some controversial claims. Yeah, it's over. Knight d4, he's going to give up a piece. Just queen takes d4 even is simple. Resign time. Knight d3? No, then rook takes d3, rook takes c1. Yep. Good calculation.
Yeah.
And Gukesh,
Yeah.
with the on.
It's like he's trying to lean into the meme here.
You sure he came out of the shower in the beginning of the match? I mean, every time that hair gets crazier.
You shower, you put on a hoodie, you take off the hoodie.
Yeah, but you comb your hair after the shower.
You should comb your hair.
That's actually the point of showering.
Yeah.
Your hair is more combable.
But Magnus not too stressed about that, given the score of this match. He now has the black side of this kind of Pierce-looking position where white's going to attack on the king side. This should be a fun, spicy one to kick things off in the bullet.
For sure. And Gukesh himself has been known to play this with the black pieces. This time he's on the receiving end of a modern, a great opening for Bullet, honestly, because it's easy to rattle off a bunch of moves if you're black. There's kind of a stock queenside attack.
Yep.
And Magnus opting for the early trade. Ooh, I don't know about queenside castle here.
Yeah. You're walking in to the attack, but at this point, anything you can get that has double-edged chances, right? You want 3 result positions if you're Gukesh to give yourself a chance to get a victory. You might lose, but you still want those types of positions to give yourself any kind of fun, even if we're not talking about a comeback, right? Here comes E5 and F5 and launch the attack, young fella.
Yep, and I like Gukesh's speed in the early going. He's not overthinking it. He goes F5 and then E5. Oh, Magnus opens up the center. This looking mighty dangerous for black now.
Yep.
But bishop takes B5 is possible. I think knight takes B5 might be a move as well. But
Bishop
Magnus banking on...
Yeah, he doesn't go for either of those, but there was some spicy potential there.
Ooh.
Instead, he goes for the forcing line, but Gukesh grabs a pawn.
And Gukesh could absolutely checkmate Magnus here. Oh, wait. Queen H6.
Queen H6 in the back. Oh, Magnus rolls his head. What
Knight
a move.
D5 to follow up. He goes knight E4.
By the way, rook takes H6. Allowed rook G8 mate. Sorry, pointing up.
Yep. No, it was important. But it's not totally over. I've seen crazier things happen in Bullet.
Yeah.
And Gukesh kind of imprecise to follow it up.
Yeah.
Oh, Queen D1 and Queen D5.
What's he allowing?
I thought Magnus should have traded queens. He wasn't expecting Queen D2.
Gukesh is still up a piece. Let's let the record state, right? No, he maybe didn't follow up correctly, but he's still up a piece.
But there's a lot of forks here, and Magnus has quite a few pawns. So he's got to keep his composure.
Gukesh has got to win this one.
Yeah, if he doesn't win this, that would be a travesty.
Yeah, bishop even just play bishop F1 if you can.
Just keep all your pawns.
Yeah, get greedy.
I don't know about that move. Magnus is going to start pushing his F pawn. Bishop
you're suffering from a little bit of Magnus bias-itis, I think.
Totally.
I think Gukesh is going to get this.
D3. No, but that's why. He's blundered his piece.
Oh, no.
It's still winning. It's still completely winning.
Okay. He's got to check.
Push your A pawn. No.
Knight
D4?
It's going the wrong way.
God, he's losing all of his pawns, and here comes the F pawn. Oh, now it's anybody's game.
What is happening? What is happening?
King G7, and if A7, rook A6.
Magnus is playing for the win.
Magnus is winning? No way this just happened. No. He's still in the game.
He can give up the H6 pawn for rook F8.
I think knight F5. But then the king moves and the bishop can step into B5. So it's Gukesh now the one hanging by a thread. Wait, what? What did Magnus just do?
He had king H7. Why did he take?
Knight C7? I don't understand anything that's happening here.
This game,
literally nothing.
Okay, now Gukesh just simplifies. Those show you the nerves. He's like, I'll just give up my rook for the knight.
It's still not over. Gukesh just needs to find the right winning construction.
Okay. D3. Okay, he's got it with bishop D1.
Okay, and finally.
For the record, for those tuning in, Damaraju Gukesh has won 2 games in a row.
Yep. For the first time this match.
I'm just saying. What is that thing they do where they go like...
Just saying.
You know? Wasn't that a thing for a while where you just go like...